This college football coverage is sponsored by Bob Moore Kia of Edmond.
Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everybody. Recapping last week's game at Iowa State. Again, I was really pleased with the way our team came into the game and executed. Iowa State, a team that had been really, playing in some tight games. We were able to come in and really execute in a positive way in every part of the game and stretch the lead and then really finish the game out, even with a lot of young players and a lot of backup players still playing pretty well. I thought Trevor Knight had an exceptional game, and the way he executed opened the game up, and he completes a bomb to Sterling Shepard, who's been an explosive player and big play guy for us all year. And we lose him for the game, but Trevor was able to execute. The run game, all his reads from the run game were excellent. He threw the ball very accurately. A bunch of other players stepped up in the receiving position, though it still needs to be better than it was. They still played hard and made some plays that we needed. Blake Bell caught a couple touchdowns. The story of the game, though, was rushing for 500 yards. Alex Ross, Samaje Perine, Trevor Knight, all over 100 yards rushing, and really due to the execution up front, the players of the game for us were the offensive lineman, and Aaron Ripkowski had another excellent game in the way he blocks and creates space. It was great to see Michael Honeycutt be perfect on the day, hit the ball really well, in particular a 45-yarder into the wind, and he hit it really well. And then defensively, I thought we were really good, excellent in our assignments, execution, got great pressure to the quarterback, and really controlled the run game all day. And the players of the game up there were Charles Tapper and Dom Alexander. Really had excellent games along with a bunch of other guys, but those were the guys cited by the coaches. So anyway, on to here back home with Baylor here coming this week. So another exciting game, and we'll see what our injury situation. I haven't unsure yet on Sterling Shepard, what his status will be today. It did not appear to be very. It appeared to be pretty minor yesterday. All right, so that's so we're I would say the best thing I'd say now is we're optimistic that it'll heal enough that he'll be at full speed by the end of the week. And if I have an update on that, as we go through the week, I will release it through Pete. But again, it appeared to be pretty minor yesterday, and that was a real positive. So anyway, excited to be back here this week, ready to play.
Talk about the evolution of the quarterback run game Saturday.
A lot of it was executed well. A lot of it in the way they defended, in particular our three-back set. We had opportunities to pull the ball, and we were able to pull it and get some space out on the edges with it.
Bob, you got Evans back, Tyler, in the offensive line, so now you're at full strength with everybody back. Was that line, the way they played Saturday, was that their best performance in a while?
Yeah, it was up there with probably West Virginia in the way we executed our run game there as well. One of our better games.
Are you rotating about 7 or 8 guys or 9 guys now?
Coach Biedenbow does. I'm not exactly sure. I want to say 7 for the most part.
What more than anything determines how much you'll use Trevor in the run game? Is it like pregame stuff? Is it stuff you see?
A lot of it is determined on how they're defending you, and how they're playing, certain plays, as well as how they structurally line up. So, again, sometimes the opportunity isn't there nearly as much.
How do you expect Baylor to line up versus
like
what you
they
saw
do
at
every
Iowa
week?
State? Well, compared to Iowa State with the quarterback run.
They're a little different in their structure and the way they play their cover 4, their read 2 deep zone. So they're a little bit different structurally in some cases. In some cases they're not. So we give a lot of formations out there. So. It's and a little bit of it is how are they going to, you get out there and you see how are they going to align to this formation, that formation, and and you start to go back to the ones that you feel you have an advantage or that's working for you.
How you feel your receivers did with no Sterling out there?
Just okay. Too many drops. A few busted assignments here or there. I'll say this, to their credit, they played really hard. They competed, and they were chasing people downfield, trying to block. So it's a lot to build on. So I'm not sitting here ragging on them. All I'm saying is it needs to be better. But I was excited to see them compete the way they did.
Talk about Alex Ross. It appears that he's getting better every game.
He is. Alex made some nice runs and made some nice cuts. Played really well, and so yeah, he is doing well.
Forward.
We'll see today. He was close Saturday. Just like I kind of said it a few times, if he was a lineman, he could have probably played. When you got to make those sudden cuts and all, it's just not. If he's if they're not at 100%, then it's not going to work. And so we didn't feel he was 100%.
Baylor's kind of gone under the radar with some people, Bob, because, they're a one-loss team, and if they were to win out, would be a playoff contender. How good, how big a challenge, how good do you think this team is?
They're really good, obviously. You look at the yardage they're putting up, the points they've put up. Defensively, really, in the last couple of years, they've really, have played well defensively, also in the way they're, executing and playing with great fundamentals. Got some, really good players running around. So they're a very good football team, of course.
Coach, a lot of people look at Baylor, they think of their passing game. They lead the Big 12 in rushing.
That's a lot of people, not us. They want to run the ball. They're persistent about it, and they're good at it, at running the football, obviously, and then they, and from it, is where they try and get all their big play-action passes from it. So, it begins with being great against the run game first.
A couple of your players described last year's loss in Waco as embarrassing and said it helped motivate them for the rest of last season, and also gives them some direction for this season's game, Saturday's game. How do you see last year's game, how it relates, if at all?
Again, I can't speak for them. Last year's last year. That's gone. So it's all we can do is what we can do this year, and going to work today and doing the best we can to be prepared to play.
Did you feel embarrassed after that game?
Whether I would or not, I wouldn't talk to you about it. So, well, because I don't need to talk to you about it. I'm never embarrassed about playing. I'd be embarrassed for not competing, but that isn't what we do.
You feel like the competing was there in last year's game?
Yes.
You guys did compete?
We didn't do very well, but we did.
Where'd that game get away from you? It was actually a good game the first half. I think you led in the second quarter, and then two big plays at the end of the half, and then second half you had no chance.
A couple of big plays, and then a lack of offensive production. You've got big plays on defense, and then offense has to stay on the ball and stay on the field and keep them on the bench. You win it together, and together as a team, we didn't.
You guys really bounced back after that game last year. Did it open some eyes, maybe, of guys, whether it's preparation or
No.
intensity level or anything like that?
I don't believe so.
To finishing last year, it didn't?
No.
Any motivation from this year?
No, I don't. Again, I don't look at it that way.
Bob, how has your perception of Baylor, and maybe your players' perception of Baylor, changed here in the last 3 or 4 years?
Well, again, our perception has always been respectful of everyone we compete against. I think it's the outside world, again, that doesn't have to compete, that has a perception. I've always respected, what they've done, and of course, the more you win, and the more you win, obviously the perception from the other, people, comes around. But I've always felt they've done a great job, and in particular what Art's done there.
With your players, when you're in Baylor week, how is that different now maybe than it was a few years ago when they're going 1-11 every year?
Well, you just said it. A team 1-11 is different than a team 7-1. I mean, it doesn't. That's the obvious part that gets your attention, gets everybody's attention. So it's as simple as arithmetic.
Would you have to put? Do you think people should put Art Briles in the same category as Bill Snyder as far as program building?
Absolutely, but you're looking at how long it's been. But again, I think Art has done an incredible job, no question, in how he's continues to develop that program.
Bob, can you talk about Jordan Evans and his evolution and where he is right now? How good?
Yeah, Jordan's continues to really play well. He and Dom in there are doing a fantastic job of just communicating and really being on the same page in their assignments. And he continues to play well. He's a long guy in there that has a great knack for finding the ball, deflections in pass coverage, those kind of things. But he's been solid in his run defense too. So he's been playing really well.
Coach, earlier in the season, you mentioned after a couple of games where there was a concern where guys were mentally coming into the games. Was there a noticeable difference heading into the Iowa State game in terms of where guys were mentally, and have they developed some habits that are positive since then?
Well, we showed that we showed more discipline in the way we played and understanding our assignments. So hopefully we can continue to carry that over. It needs to happen. I mean, there's things we practice on the field that get in the game in the same situations there. You got to have to handle it right. We still had one breakdown, the punt fake. We practiced, not the two of them, but one of them, and our guy doesn't locate him. So and that's something that we worked on Thursday. So why that happens, it's sometimes they've got to take some ownership and if they've got to react to the situations a little better too when it happens.
Mike said after the game Saturday that it was a point of emphasis, kind of call it more aggressive defensive game on Saturday. Was that kind of an emphasis in the time off you guys had going in Iowa State?
Yeah, to a degree. Mm-hmm.
How do you think that impacted your guys? I mean, more blitzes, more third down blitzes, things like that.
Well, the fact that we executed them properly is, to me, impacted it more than the fact that we called them. We've called them in some other occasions, and if they're not run exactly the right way, you let the quarterback out. So we executed really well. I think I put more stock in the execution than what was called.
Peter, Jordan Thomas got more playing time?
Possibly, but yeah, he did all right. He did well. He's learning, but he's a guy got a really bright future. Jordan does.
Does Trevor throw the ball better when he's also running? Is that maybe a thing because he picks up some yards on the ground, he has confidence and just executes the rest of the game plan better? I might be reading into this, but I'm asking you.
Yeah, I can't say that that's why. I mean, the fact that he ran 20 yards to play before allows him to throw it better the next play. That's I think there is some in what you say in that when you're having success, you're naturally, brings about confidence in whatever you're doing. So it can raise his confidence, I'm sure.
John, Bob asked you about maybe the more aggressive game plan defensively on Saturday. West Virginia, when they held Baylor down a couple of weeks ago, I think their defensive coordinator said they blitzed 60% of the snaps. Number one, did you pick up on that? Number two, does that become so much as a clue as to how you might rattle Petty and keep them from making plays?
Well, to a degree, what some stuff of what they do might be similar to what we do. So there's always a degree to that. We've seen the game. I mean, we've seen all their games, so we're aware.
Most of the head coaches their relationship with their kicker is kind of tolerable as long as you're making kicks. You really went out of your way to defend Michael after that K-State game. You don't see many head coaches in a relationship like that with their kicker.
Well, I'd like to think I've been close with all my kickers and punters. I feel they're a major and integral part of your team. Michael, in particular, in the way he handles himself throughout the year, was voted a captain now 2 years in a row. Tells you what the whole team thinks of him, and the way he works and his attitude and all. So, he's been a great, leading all-time scorer here. That's pretty special. It tells you how he's contributed to this program. So, yeah, I appreciate him, and was really excited to see him do well, the other day and hit that big one into the wind. And regardless of the situation, it had to feel good for him, and asked him that when he came off. I said, "How'd that feel?" And he smiled, and it must have felt pretty good.
What did you think of kickers when you played?
I liked them. They're teammates. I mean, you guys, what do you got against kickers? I always liked our kicker. I played 4 years with Reggie Roby. He was awesome. I'd go out early and couldn't wait to watch him practice. He'd hit him from the 20-yard line to the 20-yard line with one step through a spiral better than Elway. I mean, it was just the prettiest thing you'd ever see. So I always liked kickers and punters.
Don't stop on Reggie Roby.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The fact that you guys have won, and it's at the very top of your notes sheet for the week. You guys have won 11 consecutive games against teams that beat you the previous season. Does that speak to your ability to focus, or is it just kind of funky the way the schedule shakes out? Or
I don't know what it speaks to. I don't pay attention to things like that. To me, it doesn't matter. In the end, we've been fairly good too overall. So we haven't lost a whole bunch of games. So that probably is the biggest reason.
There's a crazy stat out there. You guys have scored in every quarter of every game this year. 30 touchdowns in 30 quarters, I think. Is that just one of those trivial stats, or is that something you take pride in?
It must be trivial because I didn't know about it. So just as the other ones, I don't pay attention to stuff like that.
What's the biggest difference between Trevor Knight today versus Trevor Knight starting the season?
He's played, the fact that he played really well here the last couple of games, I think is hopefully boosting his confidence and comfort level. And it isn't just him. Again, I say this a lot. The guys around him have to continue to perform well. That position is nothing without it being supported by the offensive line, the running backs, receivers. We could have been a lot better even Saturday if the receivers played a little better. So he's doing well. I think he's going to continue to improve.
You talked about the drops of receivers. What was the separation like?
It was pretty good. They were in the right spaces, the way their route running and things like that. I thought they did a good job.
People sometimes forget that Trevor's still a relatively young player, I guess, because of the Alabama game. Does he still have a lot of upside to get better, a lot of room for improvement?
I really believe he does. He is young. I don't know what's he started now, 11, 12 games total. So there's a big upside there that I confident will continue to grow and continue to find more consistency and more comfort in everything that he's doing.
You feel like he's climbed another rung on the ladder here these last couple of weeks, the way he's played?
I think so. His reads and where he's going with the football and in certain situations have definitely been better. And again, guys around him are helping him do that, in that they're getting in the right spaces and at the right times. So it's been good the last couple of games.
Bob, how have you seen Blake evolve in his new position? Seems like he's getting a lot more comfortable there.
Yeah, he continues to get better, and he's a big target, in particular in the red zone. When you could throw it over the linebacker and feel you're not going to throw it out of the end zone because of his height and ability to go up and get it, and definitely was the case in one of the touchdowns, and got great hands and continues to improve blocking-wise, which you'd expect the more he does it.
NFL teams are really able to expose that matchup with the tight end. You see a lot of the great tight ends scoring a lot of touchdowns. Is he on that level? Not with those guys yet, but does he need to, add a few pounds, get stronger?
I think a little bit of everything. The longer he's in the position, he'll continue to improve in the position. I think with strength, with speed, with blocking, with all of that. He's only been doing it a year, so I just think the longer he does it, the better he's going to get at it.
Samaji's only played 8 games, but just his blocking ability. I know he sprung Trevor open a couple times on Saturday. Just how has he grown in that part of his game?
Well, he's a physical guy. I don't need to tell you about that, but he's shown great maturity in everything that he does. And blocking is a part of it in certain on certain runs, and he's got the frame and the toughness to do it, and he does it well.
Bob, how comfortable are you with the secondary coverage-wise going into a game like this with talented receivers and a proven quarterback?
I feel good about it. I do. We were, Robertson last week, or Richardson was really throwing the ball well, and we really covered people up, got great pressure. So it'll not only be the secondary, it'll be backers, it'll be pressure, it'll be all of it together. But I feel like we're in good shape coming into the game.
It's like Eric Stryker's stood out a little bit last week. I mean, was that calls? Did he just play better? What else?
He had more opportunities to make plays, and he made them. He beat the tackle several times, was chasing the quarterback, and so Eric did play really well.
Bob, a big recruiting weekend for you guys. Is this the week we'll see the home alternates?
Geez, I hadn't even thought about that. Tells you how concerned I am about it. But I'll talk to the captain, see what they want to do.
Is that how the decision's made? I mean, I wonder if maybe Joe C. says, hey.
Yeah, Joe Castiglione and the captains, if they feel like it, they can. That's something we can talk about.
Bob, you one of the few downers of Saturday, short yardage runs. They stuffed you a couple times, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. What can you do, even when you're running well like you did Saturday? What can you do to make sure when you need a 3rd and 1, you can get it?
Block the right people. I mean, the one, actually the 4th down, our guy that's in position off the edge is supposed to fan out to the guy that's standing there wide rushing off the edge, and he didn't. So had he blocked correctly, we'd have had a great chance to get it. So as much as anything, people think when you say execution, you're just BSing. That's the truth. It gets down to sometimes it's just blocking the correct people, and then you have a great opportunity to pick it up.
Your perspective as a player might be better for this question than as a coach, but it seems like every issue, every problem, or maybe 95% of them are correctable, but it's very difficult, I presume, to play with sort of arch consistency, 100% consistency. How hard is it as a player to just be there every time?
Well, I mean, some things correct in that you're not going to be perfect all the time. You're going to get beat once in a while. But to step and to block the correct people should not be difficult when that's something you've worked and practiced. So that's what I talk about when there's certain things that are on us that we can be better, and that was an example of it. And a lot of people think there's magical plays. Well, not if you don't block correctly. And in some plays, sometimes look magical because they're blocked and executed properly. So, we're not going to sit here and just throw it away or ignore it. We'll work on it and have hopefully correct that mistake when we go out to practice today and give us the same look and block it correctly and then move on from there to whether you add plays or just the ones you have, execute them better.
Do you think maybe the thing that separates teams from makes good teams great is that you work on them on Tuesday and they show up on Saturday all the time, and the good ones it's 90%.
Well, whatever. Sometimes it's that your execution is a big part of your success, and mentally doing the right things.
Did you see or hear about Bryce Petty's press conference in the postgame?
No.
I don't know, 5 or 6 questions, and every answer was, "We're just getting ready for Oklahoma."
Sounds like Coach Belichick. I don't care. We're getting ready for Baylor, okay?
Bob, do they blitz more than most defensive teams? I mean, are they a heavy blitz team?
They're a heavy blitz team. I mean, yeah. I don't know, more than most. We get it from about everybody.
Did you hear about the?
I don't hear about a lot. You keep asking me.
Sitting here telling jokes. Did you hear about the pregame handshake controversy? It was Maryland
I did.
And Penn State. You did hear about that one.
Well, I saw it.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have any. It's not my team. Not my team. I don't talk about other people's teams.
You wouldn't approve of that, though, would you? I mean, or instruct guys to do that? I mean,
I don't know everything that went on in this situation, so I'm out of it. Okay. When it happens to my guys, then you can ask me about it.
When Would that surprise you if they come out there and did that? Captains just said, you know what, guys, we're not shaking hands.
Nah, I don't. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right, gang.
All right.